Originally, Reberta was a Dragoon with 3 different elements. She could also jump, chain, and land while chaining. Somehow. As amazing as that sounds, she was ultimately rather straightforward. So how on earth did she get all this? Reberta and Ignitos' Trustmaster reward is a materia that lets your unit carry a spear, then boost their attack, magic, and jump damage by 50%. It's an interesting tool that might see use in the future, but at the moment it's just kind of neat. Her Super Trustmaster reward is a single-handed spear. It has high attack and magic, and boosts jump damage and human killer by 50%. Additionally, when equipped onto a Reberta, it'll boost her attack and magic further by a flat 500. Furthermore, it'll also increase the damage modifier of her physical attacks. To make matters even better, the effect is stackable with 2 of these spears. You know, if you happen to have 2 of them. Under active abilities, Reberta uses physical attacks that deal magic damage and can scale with morale. Rousing Roar will fill the morale gauge. Dominion will require 1/6 of her limit burst gauge, but in return it permanently raises 2 of Reberta's stats by 400%, and then grants your team a powerful double killer buff and physical and magical mitigation against the same species, depending on the ability. Destroyers affects attack, magic, and dragons. Warriors affects attack, defense, and aquatic enemies. Defenders affects defense, spirit, and stone. And finally, Sorcerers affects magic, spirit, and insects. Inferno Breath will lower your enemy's fire resistance by 135%, buff your team stats by 280%, imbue fire onto your team, and raise their fire damage by 45%. Siphon Snap will dispel your opponents, then recover 125 MP for your team. Dragon's Blood will dispel your team, and then recover 10,000 HP. Support from the Skies buffs your team stats by 300%, their limit burst gauge fill rate by 200%, lets them evade 5 attacks, and fills Reberta's limit burst gauge by half. Mystic Breath self-chains, and fills her limit burst gauge by 1/12 of each use. Mega Breath can raise the damage modifier of her breathing skills, fills her limit burst gauge by 1/3, and enables a quadruple cast. Ignitos' Domain will remove any elemental imperils from your team, then boost your team's fire, ice, and lightning resistance by a whopping 120%. It also gives a HP barrier as well. Draconic Triune can be used twice per battle. It removes any debuffs from your team, raises their fire, ice, and lightning damage by 45%, and then fills a great amount of their limit burst gauge. Passives. But for Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equipped, Reberta will boost her jump damage, raise the damage modifier of her physical attacks, gets a guts buff, and will automatically cast Soaring Spirit every turn, which essentially gives an additional MP and limit burst regen. She has an amazing spread of killers, dragons, insects, aquatics, and stone, and has a nice boost to her limit burst gauge fill rate. She prefers to dual wield and has several buffs related to chains. At EX +2, she'll get an instant limit burst. At EX +3, she'll get 500 magic. Let's look at her limit burst. It lowers your enemy's spear resistance by 30%, buffs your team stats by 350%, and their limit burst damage by 300%. Time to change forms. Reberta has a true Brave Shift, which has no limitations whatsoever. Onto her active abilities. Reberta's attacks deal normal physical damage, and they no longer scale off morale. Crimson Dive is a jump. You only have to wait a single turn before landing. Charging Raid partially ignores the enemy's defense, fills Reberta's limit burst gauge by a small amount, and chains of Bolting Strike. Dragoon's Aim requires half her limit burst gauge. In return, it inflicts a 30% spear imperil, raises your team's accuracy by 50%, and raises the damage modifier for jump. Emissary of Demise can be used twice per battle. It raises the damage modifier of your team's physical attacks, boosts Reberta's accuracy by 100%, and completely fills her limit burst gauge. Passives. They're essentially the same. Dual wielding, chaining, killers, but now she also has a lot more boost to deal big jump damage. Now, limit burst. It removes any buffs from your enemies, raises your team's stats by 350%, removes any debuffs from your team, and then on the next turn she'll restore a large amount of their HP, MP, and grant a nice amount of limit burst crystals. Let's rank Brave abilities. I'd prioritize Inferno Breath to raise the buffs, and then Crimson Dive and Mystic Breath for more damage. Time to make a damage rotation. We've got 2 different forms for 2 different scenarios. First, we'll work with the Magic Morale base form. On turn 1, cast Inferno Breath, Support from the Skies, and Mega Breath. On turn 2, make sure to use either Dragon or Insect for the magic stat buff, apply another killer if it helps, and fill the rest with Mystic Breath. On turn 3, quadruple cast Mystic Breath. On turn 4, triple cast Mystic Breath and cap with Mega Breath. On turn 5, if you can, use your Limit Burst. Otherwise, stick with breathing. From there, you'll repeat the rotation. Mega Breath is going to jump around, so just replace it with whichever killer buff. As a reminder, you shouldn't need to worry about reusing the magic stat buff unless it's been dispelled somehow. Now, Physical Jumper. On turn 1, cast Support from Disguise, Inferno Breath, and choose Aquatic or Dragon for the attack stat buff. On turn 2, cast Dragoon's Aim, Emissary of Demise, and either apply another killer if it helps, or just use Charging Raid. On turn 3, Jump. On turn 4, cap a chain as you land. On turn 5, triple cast Charging Raid. On turn 6, reapply what you can. Killer buff, Inferno Breath, and Dragoon's Aim. From here, jump and land twice. Repeat the rotation from turn 6. Depending on the limit burst crystals, you might not be able to copy this perfectly, so don't feel bad if you have to use a turn to get some crystals. So, EX2? EX plus 2 is really good, given that it not only nets you her Super Trustmaster reward, but also gives her an instant limit burst. This is great because there's a lot of potential from this, either using her limit burst to support someone else, or in the case you might want to use several limit burst sapping skills. Given Reberta's natural limit burst regen, the latter usually isn't necessary, though without any help you'll only be able to pull off one on the first turn. Ultimately, as usual, it really depends on the fight. For EX plus 3, that's just stats. It's great because it makes her stronger, but it's just stats. So how good is Reberta? She's amazing! A damage dealer and a supporter, and in a surprising reveal she's good at both. The 4 killers go without saying, but her inclusion finally finishes up the missing killers between Bulwark and White Dragon Ling. When it comes to elemental imbues, she actually has less than them. Only fire, but her fire buff is much stronger than Ling's. She can also buff ice and lightning damage, though she can't imbue those because that might be a bit much. Just that would already make her a great unit, but she can also recover HP, MP, grant evasion, boost the limit burst gauge fill rate, remove elemental imperos, and buff stats and limit burst damage. Admittedly, the more powerful effects are on a cooldown, but that won't stop it from seeing regular use. Now that we've talked about her amazing support, let's get to her damage. In Clash of Wills, you usually want to take advantage of her base form with its morale scaling, but outside of that you use her Brave Shift. Of course, if the enemy happens to have high defensive stats to one, then just go with the other. But how does she fare against the units we have now? In terms of regular magic damage, she falls pretty middle of the pack. With morale, she's similar to Oliveira, and lastly for physical damage, she only falls a bit short of the premium units. Still, perhaps in exchange, she's not locked into any element. Sure, she has the option of using fire, but you can also imbue and buff her with something else. Overall, just an excellent global original unit. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below if you plan to get Reberta. Ultimately, when it comes to sheer damage, you might be better off with either of the big premium units, but it's hard to pass up that support. She's an amazing unit at a fair price, especially with the fact that the banner offers so much. I'm definitely planning on getting her, especially as I just picked up a bunch of lapis from my gift box.